Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, well, we're really getting into it, focusing on some very specific and frankly quite blunt sources looking at Manchester United. Anyone following football knows they're in a tough spot. Our mission today, go deeper than the usual headlines. The analysis we've got is from Aethel Sports, a really forensic look. Sort of dismisses the easy answers like bad luck. Instead, it points to this interconnected dual crisis. You've got a major failure on the pitch, tactically speaking, and then this really damaging strategic problem off it. A structural mess, basically.
Exactly. And you really can't untangle the two. That's what these sources hammer home. It's fascinating, actually, how the documents show the instability at the top. You know, the leveraged ownership issues, how that directly impacts what happens or doesn't happen on match day.
Yeah.
So yeah, to understand the whole picture, we have to start with that structural fracture.
Okay, let's jump right in there. Strategic shortfall sounds a bit corporate, doesn't it? But the impact is very real every weekend. Let's break down this structural crisis. What's stopping United moving forward?
Well, the big term used is strategic drift. Think of it like this. The club's whole way of operating its infrastructure hasn't really kept up. The game's moved on incredibly fast in Europe, right? In United, they're kind of stuck running on an older operating system, maybe mid-2010s, while their rivals are using, cutting-edge 2025 setups. And a massive reason why is the financial reality of that leveraged ownership. When servicing huge debts is the priority, year after year, well, that money just isn't there for crucial investment. It's like they've put a ceiling on their own potential competitiveness.
Right. So if the money's constantly going out to service debt, what's being neglected? What's suffering?
What gets squeezed is what the sources call business model innovation. Basically, they can't be nimble. They can't just drop huge sums on essential upgrades, training facility, the stadium itself, or, and this is key, on building up specialist departments. You need lots of specialized people now. Data scientists, advanced scouts, performance analysts.
Okay, so how does that compare to rivals?
Well, look at the contrast the sources highlight. Manchester City, for example. They haven't just bought players, they built this global multi-club network. It helps with everything, scouting, talent development, commercial deals. Liverpool, too, they were pioneers in using data science really deeply, not just for transfers, but for super detailed performance analysis, even predicting injury risks. For these clubs, information and infrastructure are core weapons. United, they always seem to be playing catch-up because the debt just limits their freedom, their ability to invest in these, often less visible but vital areas.
So it sounds like the foundations are shaky. Trying to fix the tactics is like, papering over cracks. So the crucial thing for you, the listener, to take away is this isn't just about players misplacing passes. It's way bigger. Institutional strategic choices, prioritizing debt service over staying competitive. The whole engine is misfiring.
That really is the uncomfortable truth here. When the top structure is unstable, it makes achieving tactical consistency almost impossible for any manager. Doesn't matter who they are.
Right. And speaking of managers and tactics, let's pivot to the pitch. The second part of this crisis, the tactical failure. The sources call it the performance paradox. And honestly, the data here really clashes with what most fans are probably seeing and feeling right now.
Yeah, the general vibe, based on results, is that United are playing poorly, maybe even terribly. But these analysts, they've unearthed some metrics that are, genuinely surprising. Apparently, United are actually leading the Premier League in some key creative stats, top for expected goals, XG, which measures chance quality, and also leading in shot-creating actions. Wait, hang on. You're telling me United are good at creating chances. That seems completely odds with what I've watched this season.
It does sound weird, doesn't it? But that's what the numbers show. The build-up, the patterns under Amorim, they are generating good opportunities, high-quality ones. So that immediately raises the massive question. If they're creating well, what on earth is going wrong? Why aren't they scoring? That's the paradox.
Okay, so what's the answer? The analysis points to something pretty stark, and it's a really alarming figure for the early part of this 2025-2026 season. An extreme goals minus expected goals deficit, G minus XG.
Okay, hold on. We need to make that clear for everyone listening. What is a GXG deficit, and why is an extreme one so scary?
Right, good point. So GXG is basically the gap between how many goals a team should have scored based on the chances they created, that's the XG bit, and how many they actually scored. The G, think of it like a chef. The XG is the chef doing a brilliant job prepping all the ingredients for a fantastic meal. The extreme GXG deficit, that's like the waiter dropping every single plate on the way to the table.
Ah, okay. Preparation's great, delivery is disastrous.
Exactly. A huge negative number means United should have scored way, way more goals than they have. And this isn't just, a quirky stat. It has real psychological impact, and the sources are adamant. This isn't just down to bad luck. No, it points directly to a consistent, serious problem with execution. Poor finishing accuracy. Yeah. That's the immediate tactical breakdown.
I have to push back a bit here, though. If the GXG is that bad, could it be that the system, while creating chances that look good on paper, is actually creating chances that are just really hard to finish? Like shots from awkward angles, or maybe the final ball is always slightly off. Is the quality of the chance misleading?
That's a really fair question, and it's something the analysts definitely considered. It's crucial, actually. But according to this Aethel analysis, even when they control for things like shot difficulty, shot location, the fundamental issue remains the player's ability to actually hit the target from good positions. The data suggests these are chances that, players at this level should be converting much more often.
Wow. So it really is about execution.
Yes. That execution gap is where the pressure really mounts. The system creates, but the individuals, the players tasked with that final action, are failing repeatedly. And that tactical failure then just heaps more pressure back onto the structural side, right?
Yeah.
Every missed chance means lost points, more fan frustration, more media scrutiny, which makes those bigger long-term reforms even harder to push through.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. Solutions. Because Amorim, the manager, he must see this finishing problem. The sources say he is trying to make changes tactically and culturally, and we see that in the signings, don't we? New players brought in specifically to address that GXG black hole. Players like Sesko and Mbeumo, these look like direct attempts to buy some clinical finishing to fix that awful goal conversion rate.
Precisely. They're like tactical first aid. But bringing them in immediately kicks off this big debate highlighted in the sources. It's not just about who is playing.
Yeah.
It's about the system itself. Is the current approach actually working, or does it need a rethink?
Right. And the debate seems to circle around Amorim's preferred formation, doesn't it? The 3-4-2-1.
Yeah, that's the crux of it. It's a system that brought him success before, absolutely. But the analysts are divided. Is it the right fit for this United squad? Or is it, perhaps unintentionally, making things harder in that final third?
Okay, let's quickly unpack that formation. Why is the 3-4-2-1 seen as rigid? And what problems might it be causing when they attack?
Well, the 3-4-2-1 relies heavily on control and using the wingbacks for width. That's probably why the shot-creating actions are high. Lots of play builds up wide. But the rigidity comes in a couple of ways. First, it can sometimes leave the main striker, the number 9, the one who needs to score a bit isolated. They might be battling 2 or 3 defenders without quick support.
Okay, so they get the chances, but maybe under immense pressure.
Potentially, yes. And second, when the team loses the ball, that midfield pairing can get exposed. The 2 players behind the striker might have to drop deep to help defend, which then pulls them away from those key goal-scoring areas when they win it back. The system isn't very flexible. It's hard to easily switch to, say, a back 4 mid-game to see out a win or react to the opposition. The analysis hints this might lead to fatigue and maybe some confusion, especially when defending leads late on.
So if the system itself might be contributing to these high-pressure, difficult finishing situations, what's the immediate fix? What tactical recommendation comes out of this analysis to try and steady things while the bigger structural stuff gets sorted?
There's a very specific suggestion, argued quite strongly in the documents. Get Kobbie Mainoo into the team. Regularly. Immediately. The focus is really on what he brings, his specific skill set.
Mainoo. Interesting. Why him specifically?
Yeah, it's not like they're saying he'll magically solve the finishing issue overnight. He's not a striker. Instead, he's seen as someone who can stabilize the midfield within that 3-4-2-1. He's excellent at keeping the ball. He's defensively solid. The idea is he provides a platform. Deploying him could make that central midfield pivot more secure, take some pressure off them.
And how does that help the attack? How does one young midfielder fix the finishing?
It's about creating better conditions, perhaps. If Mainoo helps control the middle, provides that stability and balance, then maybe the front players, Sesko and Mbeumo, the others, can focus more purely on their attacking roles. Less defensive tracking back, less worrying about turnovers. It could theoretically give them more mental energy, more freedom to just focus on that final action, maybe rebuild some confidence in front of goal.
So shore up the middle to free up the attack psychologically.
That seems to be the argument. The tactical problem, the finishing, is so bad that you need immediate solutions that provide a bit of psychological safety, a bit more control. And Mainoo is seen as the best bet for that right now. It's basically a way to manage the immediate crisis, solidify the core of the team while you try and get those expensive new attackers firing, and fix that dreadful GXG stat. Buy some time, essentially.
Wow. Okay. This has been quite the deep dive, definitely challenging. So let's try and pull it all together for you listening. What these documents paint is a picture of a club battling on two fronts. Severe, urgent problems on the pitch specifically, this paradox of creating chances but failing catastrophically to finish them. And at the same time, they're fighting this longer-term, complex structural battle defined by that strategic drift and the financial constraints of the ownership model. It really is a crisis on two different timelines that are dangerously converging.
And that convergence, that's the real danger zone. The strategic drift, the failure to modernize structurally, that's like the slow-acting poison. But the tactical failure, the inability to convert chances right now, that's the immediate wound, bleeding points every week.
Yeah.
If the results keep suffering because of that massive execution gap, the whole sense of stability around the club could just evaporate. And that makes the needed structural changes almost impossible to implement, politically speaking.
So a final thought to leave you with.
It's this. Maybe the tactical fix has to come before the strategic revolution can really take hold. Without some immediate tactical flexibility from Amorim, maybe tweaking that system when needed, and without a significant fast improvement in that goals minus expected goals number, well, that underlying strategic weakness, that drift, will just keep damaging the club regardless of who they sign. The immediate need is confidence and control on pitch. The long-term necessity is breaking free from those structural constraints,